What we're going to talk about today's Thursday Live with Michael is returning to the workplace. What to do now that things are coming back. Now here in the UK, we're coming out of lockdown. We hear that we're going to continue our return to the next normal or whatever it is, normal, as we come out of less lockdown. In the US, they declared some things where again, some of the restrictions are easing. And hopefully everything is getting a bit better with the vaccines and past some of these health curves. So it looks like there might be an end of this crazy tunnel where things are getting back to where businesses are going to start to see the increase of revenue, hire people, et cetera. And one thing businesses have to do is they have to figure out what their return to work strategy is. And when I say return to work, I mean, almost everybody had an office. Now most everybody's been working remote for the last year or so. Do they bring people back to the office? What is their strategy around that? Or do they go to a hybrid workplace? Or do they go fully remote, et cetera? Now, I believe it's very hard now if you're a traditional company where you had an office with maybe just a very small amount of people working remotely and virtually. And over the last year, you've had to work remotely to going fully back to the office. The studies that I see and the leaders and the team members that I talk to, they like the office, they like the connection, but they also like the freedom and the productivity at being at home. And I believe that a majority of companies are going to figure out what's called a hybrid workforce, where certain employees or for a certain amount of time, they can spend time out of the office working from home. Because I know for me, I'm a different type of productive at home. A lot of people say they're a different type of productive at home. And they also miss the connections of the people when they are in the office. And I believe that businesses are going to be forced to adapt to this because also right now, I also saw a Microsoft survey that says employees are okay leaving right now. They're okay leaving to organizations that support their workplace choices. So as an organization, you really have to respect this, that people got a taste of it and they're going to want more of it. And the different ways an organization can go hybrid is they could tell, for example, their employees that live close to an office, okay, for 2 or 3 days a week, you can work from home. And then there's a whole bunch of other questions that need to be answered. Does that mean you have to be available 8 to 5 to have phone calls and meetings in your calendar? Does that mean some people want to give employees even more flexibility, whether they're in the office or at home, where you might say, hey, anytime between in the middle of the day, 10:30 to 2, you have to be available for phone calls and questions. Other than that, you can set your own schedule. Really helps with parents, single parents, et cetera. Give them some of those flexibility, or people, for example, caring with elderly parents, for example. What you can also do is, what the pandemic has also done is enabled companies to reach out to their local geographic market for talent. And so a lot of companies have hired people outside of their normal city or their normal area, which is longer than a commute. And what I encourage these companies to do, the ones that I'm coaching, is to make sure you're still bringing your people together periodically. It depends. Maybe you're in the States. Maybe you have people all over the United States. Maybe you're in Europe. You have people all over in Europe. Maybe you have people worldwide, globally. So depending on how far they are away, the more difficult it is to get everybody together. But if it is possible, if they're in the same smaller geographic region, it's great to get everybody together at least once a month. Definitely once a quarter. If you're global, at least once a year. And again, we have travel restrictions as well around that. And some people are worried about the sustainability of all the travel. And I totally agree. We have to take that into account. But often enabling people to work from home saves a lot on commute costs and saves a lot on the pollution of commuting back and forth. So we really have to take all this into the equation, and the health of people connecting, especially to people they work with, spend so much time with. So those are all the different types of things that we have to look at. There was a question asked in the group, and make sure you're leading the next normal group, about the best way to rethink your office space to take employees into the reflections and to make people think of space differently and not with the same mindset as before. So what's my own desk and my own space? So, I think, you always want to give your employees the ability to make choices around what they have within reason, of course, because you have to have some consistency and you have to have respect. So, for example, if you're in a somewhat open workspace, you don't want people playing loud music at their desk because then it can affect other people, and so you want to give some guidelines to this because it's always best to give guidelines. And so if you want, now that people are coming back to the office, if you want people to show some creativity, have a little bit of home in there, that's absolutely a good thing to do. Just remember to give them whatever box it is to play in. Are they allowed to bring plants in, for example? Because some people would be okay with that. Some people, they might consider that a bit messy. And so just like everything else, if you put a little bit of forethought in, then you can have people really make it their own and have some of that home comfort at home. What I also wanted to say is we always want employee feedback. We always want to get anybody involved in the decision that the decision affects. But also as a leader, I also want to caution you to be careful of what questions you're going to ask. For example, if you're going to go to a fully virtual workplace, don't survey your staff to ask, do they want to stay in an office, go hybrid, or go virtual? Because what happens is if a lot of them want to come back to the office, and then you're like, well, I know we asked you this, but we have to go back to the office anyway, people are going to be like, well, why did you even ask? And so I do believe in getting people's feedback, getting input, formally and informally surveying. That means talking to people, doing surveys, etc. But just be careful. You're asking a question they really have input in, because you can really shoot yourself in the foot by asking a question that you already know the answer to. And also, when you have these changes, when you make these decisions, make sure you make time to explain it to everybody there. So if you are going to hybrid or you're getting rid of your offices, have that to be well thought out decision and communication plan. Say, hey, I know we had these offices. We're going to be going to fully remote. This is the thought process we went through. This is why we did this. This is how it's going to affect you. And we're going to for example, give you a stipend every month to spend on technology. We're going to get to everybody together. We have meeting rooms available, etc. So just remember, with any change like this, you want to really think out your communications. And when you do that, you'll be surprised how much easier change gets. I mean, change is never going to be super simple, but when you do all these steps, people really take to it so much easier. All right, everybody. Hey, nice chatting with you. Let me make sure anything coming out of the chats. I think we're good. Nice seeing everybody. I do this every Thursday, so I'm always happy when people drop me a couple questions and I can answer them on here, so I can provide as much value. You get as much value you can out of these Thursday lives. All right, everybody. Nice to see you. I will see you around. Bye-bye.